like I said, I thought I might come back out. I did. Wrap some gifts and had some dinner, watched a little TV. Now we're going to jump back on it a little bit here. I think we're to the point now where I need to write some stuff down, make a list before I miss something. We've gotten the big pieces done. Now it's tying up a lot of loose ends. So let's see. First thing we need to do is valve covers. Don't have them yet, but we will. Then intake. Let's say headers. We'll say converter. And I need new trans lines. Oh, I need to order them. We need to get the same braided line we use for the fuel for the trans. We'll do that. Water pump. Steering pump. Rad. Transcooler's already in it. Rewire. Sensors, which just means plug them in. Grounds. 12 volt positive. Wheel bearings. Got to do wheel bearings in this thing. They're making a little bit of noise. I greased them, but they need to be replaced, so I got some over there. Up here we'll say coil packs, plugs, plug wires, there's a large rodent running around up there. I do need to set traps. We don't need to put that on the list. Headlights. Got to re-aim these headlights. Actually, I need to. I've got new buckets and new springs and all that stuff. That all needs to be fixed, replaced. We're going to be driving at night for sure through sick week. So we need to get that done. Water pump. Oh, alternator. Interior is fine. I mean, yeah, everything was working. We didn't touch anything in there. I don't plan on touching anything in there, so we'll be good. Yeah, I think that might be it. Steam vent lines. Air intake. I do believe that's it. I'm going to need an alignment. Every time I say that's it, I think it's something else. Is this thing dying? Alignment. I said headers. Yep. So the drive shaft will come off when the trans comes off, and then it all goes back together. But we'll write drive shaft. Just because that gives me something to cross off the list. Fuel lines are good. I'll go back on with the intake. Knock sensors are done. Yeah, I think clean it up a little bit. But other than that, we've got a pretty good list there. We're not going to mess with the brakes. They're fine. They're good. We just did the rears. The fronts I did after I bought it. It's just those wheel bearings. I mean, yeah, there's really not a lot left to do on this truck. So what do I want to do tonight? I can't do the headers. I can't do the valve covers. Can't do the coil packs. I'm not going to touch the trans. I'm not going to start that tonight. That's going to be a struggle. Can't do plugs. I'm not going to put the rad in until I do the water pump. At this point, I mean, I guess I could. I don't see why I can't throw the water pump and alternator and power steering pump back on it again. So why don't we do that? That'll get me to water pump, steering pump, and then once that stuff's good, I can jump on the radiator too. I mean, there's no reason I can't put it back in. Oh, shroud. That's right, shroud too. I want to figure a couple things out with that shroud. Oil, that's a big one. Oil. Coolant. I just bought oil and coolant at O'Reilly's today. I bought the water pump gaskets. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do. Let's jump on that. Put my marker here because I'm sure we'll add to that list as we're going. Trans fluid will need to be checked. I might as well write it. Okay, here we go. Water pump, accessories. Got some Molly water pump gaskets here. And I could probably reuse the ones I took off, but I didn't like them, actually. I think they were eBay specials as part of a larger kit. So let me just give this a wipe down with some brake clean like we do. And actually the first thing I'm going to do is put the power steering pump back on because I got to get down here and the water pump would just be in the way. So I've already placed all of our bolts back in the bracket, which we just moved and tucked sort of out of the way. And zip tied it up here, so that's fine. Now I'm going to just pop this bolt out. That's what's holding it up to the hinge with zip ties, so I'll pull that out and then we'll be able to swing it back around. But I do actually want to wipe this down a little bit before I do that. So let me just grab one of these old rags here, and we got a little brake clean right here. I guess it's actually not that dirty. It's just stained. So that's fine, actually. Yeah, I'm wiping it down and it's just, it's clean, believe it or not. Yeah, all this is good. A little bit of grime down here, but pretty minor. Okay, we're just gonna throw it back on. So if I pop this bolt here, there we go. I could also have just cut the wire tie, but you know, that's too easy. The short bolts go on the top for the alternator. There's two of those. Now, Let's see what we can get this thing all hung up on. What the heck? How did I do this? Let's get this all out of the way. Yeah, what in the world? Yeah. How did I get that all tangled up like that? Holy smokes. There it goes. Perfect. All right, pull the bolt out of the side of the block that I left in there. Side mount. This will sort of drop in like that. Huh. Easy. I just didn't, when I pulled this thing apart with Bill, I didn't want to make a mess, or I wanted to limit the mess, I guess, as much as possible. Oh shoot. You know what? Before I do any of this, I just realized I need to prime that oil pump. And you need to pull a plug in the block right behind where the power steering pump goes, or the bracket and the pump. So let me pull this bolt back out. Move this thing just here. That should be fine right there. Yep. And there's a plug down here that needs to be pulled. And then you basically get a hose and put a hose in there and slowly pour oil into it, and then it fills up, and when it spills out, it's full and it's primed. Alrighty, so this plug right here gets an Allen wrench, and we just drop that thing on there, back it out. Like I say, we'll put a hose in it, fill the hose until it's full, and then we're done. Put the plug back in. Should be that simple. Let's try it. Oh, hey, broke free. Was not expecting that. But hey, we didn't have to do something twice, like put the pump on, the power steering pump, and then take it off because I forgot to do the oil prime. I guess we're using our heads for a change. My head, me, just me, not you. There's no hour, it's just me. This will make life a little easier. There's our plug. Looks like someone Teflon taped the crap. Actually, it's like pipe dope. So I guess we will put Teflon tape back on it. It's pretty clean. Just like everything else we've done with this engine. Okay. Ouch. As I understood it, is correct. You take a 3/8 inch, approximately 2-ish foot long, 3/8 inch fuel line. You need to put a little oil on it and then jam it into that hole where we pulled the plug out, and then you just pour 5 to 6 ounces of oil down this funnel on the other end, and it primes the pump. Thing is, as I'm pretty sure I mentioned before I went and looked it up, it might just leak down. So ultimately what I need to do here is I'm just going to do this now, and then we are going to leave the plugs out of it. And when it's time to start it, I'm just going to crank it for a little bit and watch oil pressure build. And if oil pressure doesn't build, we will reprime this, even though we'll have all the accessories on. Not worried, not concerned. It's totally fine. Yeah, once everything's assembled and wired, we'll just leave the plugs out of it. It obviously won't start again, totally fine. Just want to check oil pressure. Once we see we've got good oil pressure, hopefully we don't need to prime it again. Honestly, I think priming it right now is a total waste of time, but because I just jammed this thing in there and we're talking about it, let's just do it. Drink, drink, drink. I don't know, probably 3. Probably 6 ounces there. It's not dropping anymore. Come on, Bella. There it goes. Taking its time is all. So basically they say if this doesn't work and you go to start it and you still don't have oil pressure and you crank it for a bit and you still don't have oil pressure and you prime it again with this method and you still don't have oil pressure, they say to use like some tank with pressure and air and push it through the whole oiling system. But this thing ran before, not that there's oil, anywhere still in it because we pulled the heads off and it's got a new oil pump and just, everything. But it ran before and there's likely still some residual oil in the passages. So I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. This thing fired right off when I dropped it in here, and I've had other motors where I've put a new oil pump in a motor that already ran and it fires right off too. So let's just see what happens. I mean, we gave this thing some oil. We could give it a little more just for fun. Let's give it a whole nother funnel full, shall we? Let's pull this hose out. It probably drank what it was going to. Oh yeah, we're just pissing oil from that hole. It's just everywhere now. That's great. Let's hurry up and put the plug in. It's all over the floor. That's just awesome. Let's put this here so it spills it all over the rag. Yep. Great. Ouch. I put entirely too much in and it just spilled back out. But it was pouring out and I did not retape that, so it'll leak. Okay. Well, let's bring this guy back down again where it was. And then it wasn't, and then it is again. And we'll put this little bolt. Come on. What? Ouch! What is happening? How did I get that on there before and now I can't? Done. Now, yes, there are torque specs for this. No, I'm not following them. I know I've been saying torque everything for everything else, but that was inside. This is a bracket holding a pump. It's fine. It's on there. Okay. Next up, alternator. Oh, wait, I got one more. One more bolt on the side. We knew about that because it's the first one I put in. Look at that. You see how nicely these things clean up with just a little wire wheel? Let's see if I can get this. There we go. I mean, that was bad. These were all pretty bad, but hit them on the wire wheel. You know, little details. That's what matters. So, now, lay these on top of here. There's our gaskets. I got a little bit of black That's for gear oil specifically. Probably work just fine, but I do have this here. Ultra Black Gasket Maker. Thin layer around all this. This water pump was new 5,000 miles ago. So it leaked. That's fine. It actually leaked out of this neck from where the neck is pressed into the pump body. The only way to do it would have been to replace it, but instead we just put some silicone on it. Fine. I like these like slightly wobbler extensions from Harbor Freight. They're good for if you can't get exactly where it needs to be, you get it on there and then you straighten it out. But don't torque with these things, that's for sure. But you can use them for stuff like this. Perfect. You know what? This is going to get cleaned up on the wire wheel too. It is not perfect, but it's certainly a lot nicer than it was. So, the thing about these brackets are that the mount here has two sort of pressed in fittings, much like the dowel pins that came out of the engine for the heads. And when you crank down on the alternator, they actually want to push that way. So you need to tap them back out. That should do it. Now you don't have to fight to drop the alternator in. Just like that. Perfect. But when you draw the bolt back in, it actually will clamp that back in again, the piece we just drove out with the hammer. So it works out very nicely. All right, these are 15 mil. I have that here. We've got an impact here. See, that drove him right back in again. There it goes. And like I said before, let's just do a double-double. That's tight and tight. Oh, well, that don't feel good at all. What did I do? It looks like I probably hit that by accident. There's a little tab there. Let me pop that back down. Nope. What is that? Oh boy. Great. It's not supposed to sound like that, so I don't know what happened. All right, pull it back out. It turns till it doesn't. Trying to see if I can tell. What's hitting and keeping that from rotating. I don't see anything obvious on the front. And I don't see anything obvious on the back. Did this get dropped when I took it out? I don't know. Oh, let me go put this thing in the bench vise real quick and see if I can maybe pull these 4 screws out and take it apart. Something is in there that is supposed to. Oh. It's spinning now. It doesn't sound great. Oh. Well, when it doesn't charge, it's probably because the wire wheel probably let a wire go and got jammed in there somewhere. So it'll either come out, short out, or blow up. I don't know. Let's put it back in. Spinning now. Good and good. Okay, does it spin? Oh, sounds terrible. Yeah, I don't know. The good thing about that is I've got a brand new one on the blue truck. So in a pinch, I'll swap them. What have we done? We have done water pump, steering pump. Somewhere is the alternator. Okay. I suppose I could put the belt back on it now as well. There's no reason for me not to put the rad back in it either. So why don't we just grab that, make a big mess, bigger than we already have today. That's fine. All right, I poured some of the coolant out that was still in it. The little rubber pads are still in there, so that's good. I'm just gonna temporarily prop it up with that hose, let it kind of go like this. Get a hose clamp, which just fell off of the hose as I was trying to put it on. That's fine. Perfect. There's the hose clamp. There's the lower hose. Upper hose does not go on until shroud and everything else is done. That was a little preemptive, I think. I'm going to take it out. Yeah, easy enough. No reason to have it in there. Not now, anyway. Oh man, I can't get the hose off. Seems about right. Ouch. Ouch, ouch. All right, well, we know it fits. How about that? This belt was new 5,000 miles ago also, and it looks great. So I did put a green belt on the blue truck. I just don't need to do that here. I just need to remember how this thing routes. Yep. Huh. Let me have a look at the other truck. 16 mil on a breaker bar. Get that back on the crank like that. Take off some tension on the tensioner. Make sure this is all lined up like we want it to be. Put the tension back on. Voila. That's all exactly how we need it to be. So as long as the alternator alternates, we'll be fine. I don't see a reason why I shouldn't put the intake on, but before we put the intake on, I need to put my steam vent pieces back together. This is the factory crossover for the steam vent. It's a little beat up, I'm not gonna lie. It's not really in great shape, but it didn't leak, so we're just gonna put it back on here again. And if it does leak, I'll pull the intake. I should say when it does leak. My luck, it'll probably leak. You really should go to all four corners to do this correctly, but I'm just using the factory plugs in the back because it's fine. By the way, you might hear a couple different sounds in the background. One is the server for my cameras, which is always running. Gotta stay protected these days, right? So I got lots and lots and lots of cameras here. Lots. Like more than most businesses. I don't play games. So I'm running a giant server. I do a bunch of off-prem backup stuff too, and cloud stuff, all kinds of crazy stuff that I do for my cameras. It's a little bit of a hobby, but they have come in handy. So that's what you hear running, buzzing. That server is right there. Then my office is just on the low side of the shop, above the shop. So the server pokes through from the front and pulls cool air in, draws it out here. It stays fairly cool here in the shop too. So anyway, that's one noise. The other one that you probably are hearing is the ultrasonic cleaner. I've been running that thing almost nonstop for the past couple hours. I put the old valve covers, well, one of them halfway in and turned it on. I flipped it a few times. It is cleaning up a little bit. So it'd be cool to get those cleaned, just to have them. Spares. But they were full of junk. And it's got the old PCV setup in them. So the new valve covers I'm definitely looking forward to. They're a big improvement over what we have, but they are good still to have as spares, those other ones. So anyway, let's throw the intake on. This intake's pretty gross. I'm gonna just wipe this thing real quick as best as I can. Remember, the cover goes on here and hides a lot of this stuff, but you will see this here. Oh, I just realized the firing order is on here. 187-26543. She ain't no Chevy small block, but that's neat. I never noticed that before. Okay, let me just spray this real quick, wipe it, and then we'll put it on. All right, change of plans. I am not going to put the intake back on. I am going to order and grab some intake gaskets. They're a little bit hard. I did not replace these on here. I did on the blue truck, but this is less than ideal. So we're just going to grab a set of these. They're not expensive and it's worth doing for sure. So that's it for tonight. Great progress. Thanks for watching. And I will be back tomorrow, Christmas Eve, when we grab another set of these, as long as I can actually get them. So let me jump on the internet and see if O'Reilly's can hook me up tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Good afternoon. So picked these gaskets up this morning. These are much better than the ones we pulled off, so that's good. Those are for the head side on the intake. I got the throttle body gasket as well while I was there. I had it all in stock, that's great. Pulled the throttle body off. I got to put the sensors back on, but it's not perfect, but it's clean. I know it works. I got it real shined up, real nice. I just hit it on the wire wheel and a little brush, a little scrubbing, a little brake clean. So that's ready to go on. And so I started thinking about maybe just, oh, here's the map sensor. I thought maybe I might actually just replace the intake with a new one, because this thing is just full of oil. I mean, full. So my guess is when this motor was put in, again, as a remanufactured engine, it was put into the donor truck that I got it out of. They clearly ordered a long block, right, when the motor failed. And again, I believe it probably threw a rod, because there is a small hole in this oil pan, which was JB welded, but it's totally fine. Probably didn't come with an intake, so they likely pulled the intake off of the almost 300,000 mile truck with the blown motor and just threw it right on this with the throttle body and everything. So that probably explains why it's just loaded with oil. Oh, by the way, oh yeah, we did this yesterday, so never mind. I was going to say we got everything installed. Yeah, you knew that though. Okay, so I forgot that I had this intake on the shelf, and boy, this thing is clean. Boy howdy, it's clean. So this I actually got from a guy just up the road. Sorry, I think it's like RH Customs or something, I don't remember. He's got a bunch of LS stuff. He does a bunch of swaps professionally. And I popped in there because for the blue truck, I actually broke one of the clips on the injector. So I just popped in there and said, hey man, do you have an injector? Yep. Here, take the whole intake. Okay, what do you want for it? I think I gave 40 bucks for this, with fuel rails, a throttle body, 8 injectors. It was complete. So power washer. Anyway, I pulled it off the shelf, sprayed it with some Totally Awesome, power washed it, power washed the inside, dried it out real good. This thing looks brand new, brand new. There's no oil in the intake, so we're going to use this one. I'm very, very happy with that. Nice, clean, fresh intake. Only cost me 40 bucks, and actually really cost me nothing because I needed one injector. Speaking of injectors, before I go slapping injectors in this intake on this motor, we are going to pull the injector cleaner out and just rip through 8 injectors, make sure they're all even and the spray pattern is good. But for now, let's throw this one on this engine. Okay, so let me just do a quick wipe, make sure we don't have anything in here it's not supposed to be. Yeah, we're good. Okay, now these have 1, 2, 3 clips on them, so they go on like this. This clicks here, this one clips in the middle, and this one on the other end. That's it. So that's simple. Although I'm not thrilled entirely with the way that just didn't line up. Let's try the other one just for fun. Clip and oh, clip, clip, clip. Yeah, it's lining up the same way. Not 100% perfect. And again, it's not really overlapping. It's okay. That'll work fine. So let's throw the other one on. Clip, clip, clippity, clip, clip. Yeah. I think that's going to work. And you know what? These are actually, they're beveled. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a beveled edge here and a flat edge here. So that's clearly actually correct. So it drives the air, I assume, in the right direction that way. Which is why these heads are always real clean from fuel driving into them, even if the rest of them have some carbon buildup. So anyway, we'll just throw this guy on. Wipe this real quick. I don't have any bolts, any injectors, nothing in here. That's fine. We'll get to that in a moment. And there are, if you look at this right here in the middle, there is a sort of like a key kind of, or like an embossed piece on the front, in the middle, on the back, in the middle, and it actually fits in the machined area in the head for the bolt. So that ensures that you've got everything centered up exactly like it's supposed to be. I mean, you can't do this the wrong way. If you did, I don't know how, but that's fine. So I need to turn that power washer off, otherwise it'll keep trying to build pressure. And pull these nuts off of here. And then I've got some EGR stuff that I need to transfer over from that, little plates, and put them on this intake. We got to put the bolts in, our injectors need to go in, we need the fuel rails. So we got a lot of stuff that I'll transfer from one to the other, but for now this works perfectly. Let's open the throttle body gasket. And this definitely has a correct way and a right way, a wrong way to go in. And you can see it's beveled. Of course, it couldn't go any other way anyhow. So we'll pop this guy on here. That's great. Fits real nice. That's a Fel-Pro gasket for the throttle body. For what it's worth, the part number is Fel-Pro 61070. Fits the 4.8, the 5.3, the 6.0, probably a 6.2. I don't know, lots of stuff. Pretty basic, straightforward. Here's our map sensor. This is just a, I believe, just a little Chinese little map sensor. I probably got it on Amazon. Worked just fine before. It's going to work just fine again. And I can't remember. I think this faces back. Yep. You can see there's two little clips on the top of the intake. Be very careful taking these map sensors on and off. In fact, I'm going to put a little grease on that. Just a little. Okay, that's in there. Throttle body assembled. Now, let's chuck these nuts back on. We are making progress. Torqued. Let's check the top torque. We're good. Torqued. Okay. Oh, I forgot that wasn't bolted down. You dummy. There we go. Okay. Now I went through and I cleaned up all of the bolts. These bolts have this sort of throughway passage with a rubber grommet on the top, and the bolt slides through. These are a bit of a pain, but if you just kind of be patient and get them on the right angle, they do. That sleeve does fit right through, and it has to go through the bottom too. There you go. So I'm going to go through and put all 10 of these in, and then we will torque the intake appropriately according to the specifications from General Motors. 10 bolts. It's 1, 2, both center, and then on this side you go back 1 to 3, then you cross over to the front of center 4, and then 5, and then front of center 6, and then the front driver 7, rear passenger 8, crossover, rear driver 9, 10 on the front. Okay, so I'm going to get at it on the first pass, and we do this twice. This is 44 inch-pounds. Apparently I was nowhere near 44 inch-pounds. By the way, I was in the parts store the other day. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was 144 inch-pounds that the guy was arguing needed to be torqued to with the kid at the counter. And he said, well, I don't have an inch-pound. I said, that's 12 foot-pounds. No, it's not. It's 144 inch-pounds. 12 foot-pounds. No, that's not right. I have to do it by inch-pounds. How many inches are in a foot? 12. How many feet are in 144 inches? 12. I'm going to do that real quick. Just take off the pieces I need, put them on here. Oh, this I can put on right now. This is a modified piece for the brake booster, so I get vacuum out of the intake. Here's something fairly interesting, and I think I have the piece here. Let me just double check. No, I don't see it. No, I don't know. Anyway, here's something fairly interesting. If you have this, if your donor motor came out of a 25 or 3500 series truck, I think just pickups. I don't believe the vans. It's possible though. In any case, they used, oftentimes they used Hydro Boost brakes. I have Hydro Boost brakes in that thing from 1978. And so the reason they do that is because these things actually don't make a ton of vacuum. And those trucks are pretty heavy, so in order to give better brake feel, they use the Hydro Boost and come off the power steering pump. You may have noticed when we put this power steering pump back on the motor, I had a little elbow coming out of the pump that I actually had a bolt in. So I actually tapped that and threaded a bolt with a thread sealant, because this is a Hydro Boost power steering pump reservoir. And I'm not using Hydro Boost in this truck, I'm using vacuum boost. So what you have to do is on the back of the intake for the donor trucks that do use Hydro Boost, there's a small plug. So you just squeeze and pop that plug out, and then you can get this part here, which is a little bung that plugs into that plug, and then you've got your piece that goes into the booster. Very simple, but very important if you're having vacuum brakes. So that just pops in the back there. That pops in there like any other booster, and we got power brakes now. Pretty sweet. All right, let me pull the pieces off of that, get them on this, and we'll get rocking and rolling. Well, I did just find a difference between our intakes from the one that I took off of here and the one that we're using. And that difference is that there's supposed to be another spot to screw this plate on back here, but I'm not terribly concerned. We still have 2 bolts that go in here, and then all this does is hold the throttle cable, and it also does hold the cover on the back, but 2 bolts on here will be fine. We'll thread them in and double check it, but I think I might have ran into this issue actually on the blue truck too. So let me just make sure this all lines up like we want it to. That snapped into that bracket, which I pulled off the other intake. And we then open the throttle body up and pop this cable in here. There we go. Yeah, we're good. So no big deal. That's the only difference really that I can see. I think we're ready to clean injectors. I do believe 1, 2, that one, 3, 4. This This guy comes to the front. Okay, let's switch things up a little bit. Grab the injector machine and get some injectors clean and dropped in. All right, you might have seen me just wiggling around there. It felt like something was biting my private parts. So I went off camera, and I think the way to tell that you need a new wire wheel on your grinder is when you get a piece of that wire wheel in your underpants, poking your parts. How in the heck did this get down inside my pants? I mean, I'm wearing a shirt. My fly was up. I got underpants and a belt on. How did this get either through my pants, poking my, or did it go down? But how? It's all sealed up. What the heck? That hurt. I mean, a lot. So I think we're done with that wire wheel till I replace it. I've already dropped 6 of our 8 injectors in. The first thing you want to do is drop them in the bath in the back. I'm just using mineral spirits. They work quite well for this. Doesn't catch on fire. God forbid that were to happen. And it is not water. So it actually does a good job of breaking things down. So maybe it does catch on fire. I don't know. Somebody knows. So each one of these leads that plugs into this has 4 wires, so it supports 2 injectors. So for the bath portion through the ultrasonic cleaner on this machine, you do a red and a black, and then you have a green and a yellow. Doesn't matter where you plug them in or how you plug them in. You can also check that these things are pulsing by connecting them to a 9-volt battery. That works too. So we've got a heating switch and a cleaning switch and a master switch. And there you go. So you want the heater and the ultrasonic cleaner on. Not sure if you can hear them or not. I don't know if I'm supposed to hear these things clicking, or maybe they just clicked. So when you turn this on, that one clicked, that one clicked. So they're working. I don't know about all of them. I could check them later, but they go down in this cleaner. There's a little tray in here. They sit on there just like they do when they're in the injector rails. So they all clicked. Let me just double check the rest. Yep. Yep. Just for the sake of consistency. Okay, they're all checked. So the reason you want to make sure they're opening is because when you fire this thing on, the injector opens and then the ultrasonic cleaner will pulse any crap that's stuck inside of there, in theory, and drop it to the bottom here. But I definitely can see a bunch of garbage being pulled off of these. I did wipe it out before we started, and it's just scooting around in there. This ultrasonic cleaner is certainly not as powerful as my Central Machinery, the Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner, which I use for some of the bigger stuff. I have put injectors through that. I've just dropped them in and they've worked fine. But this is the right way to do it. So if we look at the bottom of a couple injectors here, they're kind of funky, a little dirty. And since they're open, I should be able to spray like brake clean right through them, but not that worried. We're gonna let them go through their cycle there for a bit. I don't know, half hour, something like that. All 8 are cleaning. And then we'll drop them in these tubes and we can actually measure flow, make sure that they're all flowing uniformly. I have found some bad ones in the few that I've put through this machine. There's another video on the channel here where I tested some Amazon Chinese injectors and they were crap, every one of them. So I sent them back. That's why I wanted to go and find this dude up the road from me, who I bought that whole intake and setup from, because I wanted the right injector. And I knew I could find somebody who had some used ones, exactly the same part number. He had them. It was really cool that he sold me that for as cheap as he did. And we're going to use, like I said, the intake's already on the truck. And if I need a spare injector for this or the blue truck, we can do that. I'm super interested though to see when we get tuning what my injector duty cycle looks like, because I may be out of injector for these, so we'll see. I'm gonna start with them and see where we go. So I'm gonna let these things clean. By the way, I do have the other ultrasonic cleaner doing its thing here. And not that you saw this before I started, that's really hot, before I started cleaning them, but they are coming up clean. I mean, you can see this section here that can't quite make it into the bath, but all this, I didn't scrub any of this. This is just from dipping it in and cleaning it. It's even getting, ouch, very hot. It's inside the baffles and everything, so kind of cool. Like I said, I'm just going to clean these things up and have them as spares. Good to have some extras, I guess. There's really nothing wrong with them. They do have the old PCV style system, but I don't care. Like I said, spares. So I'm just going to keep dipping these things in, and it's a shame it's not just a little bit bigger. And it is taking all the paint off, which is kind of neat too. Just cleaning them up. All right, I'm gonna let this go. While this is doing its thing, I'm gonna go bolt the intake down. Never mind, I already did that. I don't know. Oh, what I need to do is remember how to fill this reservoir. I think this funnel has something to do with it. So you just have to pour this into one of these tubes, or all 4 of these tubes. The question is, what's open? I think that's closed. Let's find out here. If I pour this in, we'll put it up to 100. I guess that's, yep, milliliters. So we'll just do all 4 of these to 100 milliliters or so. Whoa, way too much. Entirely too much. That was a mistake. It's okay, it's draining down. There's 100. And 100. Perfect. Now I can clean that up. And then if I open that, that'll just drain right into the reservoir like you want it to. Yeah, it's good. All right, excellent. This thing comes with all kinds of adapters and fittings and all that for different style and size injectors to make sure you get them all in there, but I don't think I actually even have to use any of those. I'm pretty sure they just sit in there like you want them to. Okay, when that's done, we'll do this again. Let me get this cleaned up. I just realized that they only click once. When you turn it on, that opens just for a second and it closes them, but it's cleaning, but they're not open. So you actually have to start the cleaning process. Even though the injectors aren't here, it doesn't matter, it's pulsing there. And so let's see, we're doing ultrasonic cleaning, And we can actually increase, I think. No, pulse width stays the same. So as long as it's on ultrasonic cleaning, and probably if I turn off these switches, yeah, so functions, ultrasonic cleaning, and I cannot change any of this unless it's off. And you definitely want it on ultrasonic cleaning, because if you have it on the other ones, it's just gonna spray that fluid through this manifold and make a big old mess, because that's when the pump actually pumps it through the injectors to flow test them. So you set it to ultrasonic cleaning. You cannot adjust how fast they pulse, and it will tell you how long it's been injecting for. So all it's doing is opening and closing them. And so the way we can test that to make sure it is actually doing what we want it to do, I've got a little precision parts cleaner, and we'll just put a little in here. And I can see it spraying out the bottom. Okay, that's it. Now we can do a high-speed test. Fuel pressure is at about 90 psi. Let the bubbles settle and see where we're at in terms of flow. They should all be real close. They appear to be. Yeah. Alright, so these 4 injectors are very similar in their flow. Oh, that's a bug. Must have had a bug fall down in there or something. Okay, so we're at like 52, 52, 52, and 60. So this guy here is a little bit more happy than the rest of them. Let's drain all that out. And test it again. We'll do a accelerating test. So you start at idle and ramp up. Fuel pressure's at 122-ish, 125. There you'll hear it getting faster. Okie doke. Here's all our injectors, and let me just do a little bit of investigation on this versus the one that came in this intake and is on the blue truck. Because if they are a better injector, I'll probably use them on this truck, being I'll have more power, bigger cam, more fuel demand, the whole deal. So stay tuned. Alright, I looked up these injectors versus the ones with 4 holes. Flow rates are almost identical. So we're going to use these because I just cleaned them. And I have 8. I only have 7 of the other ones because I broke one of the tabs. So easy enough. These things just pop in and then plug in. They're still nice and warm from that bath I just took. So we pop this guy. In theory, yeah, how about that? I might have to just put a little bit of roll on them. Well, that one went in okay. Put that on first. Get all of our injectors somewhat lined up. Like that. The best way to do this, I think, is actually to put the injectors in the fuel rail and then push the fuel rail on. But I did it the opposite way. Put that on first. Get all of our injectors somewhat lined up. Like that. The best way to do this, I think, is actually to put the injectors in the fuel rail and then push the fuel rail on. But I did it the opposite way by putting the injector in the intake first, because I like to fight things and do them twice. We'll try to fight with this for a second, and then if it doesn't want to cooperate, yep, it won't. So we're going to do the same thing and pull these injectors, give them a little grease. And 4 on this side. Get the wire out of the way. Jam it in. That's it. Just like that. Now we grab 4 bolts. Okay. Lesson learned. Don't ever try to put the injectors in the intake and then put the fuel rail on the intake, because it doesn't work. All right, we got these all cleaned up, and good news. I don't think I got any of the wire wheel on my wicket. At least not yet. Rewire sensors. We're going to do that right now. Apparently, I didn't say anything about injectors, but it's done. All right, let's take a look at what we got for sensors now. That's done already. I could probably tuck that a little better. And if I can get it from this side, that would be awesome. Just get it out of the way, a little less obvious. That's better. Okay. Now, what do we have over here? I believe this is my alternator. Yep. And all this gets tucked behind here, the alternator. This one here goes to the throttle body. That's our throttle position sensor. Idle air sensor. Those are good, done. Oh, this one comes around here. Tuck all this in here. And that one is our coolant temperature sending unit, which I had on the bench because I break these things every time I take one off. Every time I do something. Oh no. I clearly have the heads on backwards from how I had them. Not a big deal. The problem is I'm gonna have to move. Yep, gonna just need to move the plug that's over there, over here, and then this will screw into where the plug is. figures. I was actually trying to keep the heads on the same side that they were on, but I had them on and off of here so many times I must have just lost track, I guess. Hopefully it doesn't leak. It is a 19mm socket that fits on this. There's still time to break this thing off too. Once we get these headers bolted up, I'll probably whack it with the header by accident. Okay, not too tight. It's just brass. Now, that sensor wire just plugs in there. Thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. Okay, plenty of room. That's there. So, rewire sensors, done. Okay, that is it for today, I think. This last wire goes all the way over here to the mass airflow sensor, so we'll just tuck this guy here for now, and he gets zip tied to the bottom of the air intake tube. So until I get past Christmas, I guess, first of all, so tomorrow's Christmas, then I'll come out day after, drop the trans, swap the converter, install the trans. I do need right now to go on and order our lines to replace the lines that are here that will not pass tech at sick week. Then that'll get me through Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I think the exhaust gaskets come, and then or the valve covers. I'm hoping the valve covers come because first I can get them on, get this thing sealed up, put the coil packs on it, and then I can test for oil pressure. Once I'm done that, it's a breeze from there. Bolt the headers up when I get the gaskets, put the plugs in, connect the wires, and put the tune in it and go. So we are so close, so close. This was a great opportunity to really freshen up this engine. Got this little guy here, vacuum line for our, there we go, that's for the fuel pressure regulator. So yeah, we're good. I mean, we are really doing well here. So I'm just gonna move the positive battery cable block back over here real quick, wash up, and then I'll order my fuel or the transmission lines and the fittings that we need for that. And we're just waiting on parts. So have a great Christmas. By the time you see this, I hope you had a great Christmas. I am going to try to get a little editing done. I've got a video from the Camaro that I did, which I never even finished a wrap up on, so I should do that real quick. And then all of this, which I think I'm going to break into a bunch of different videos. So hopefully your Christmas was great, and we'll see you on Tuesday. All right, I went ahead and did a bunch of stuff that I didn't say I was going to do tonight, but we did it anyway. My son Kincaid is here with us. We're going to try starting this thing. Oh, so I have no radiator in it, there's no coolant in it, but everything's hooked up. Oil's in the pan. I just cranked on it and got oil pressure. I had 40 pounds just by turning it with the starter. All my grounds are hooked up. All the injectors are in. We put the clips on the injectors. The coils are on. I temporarily put the old valve covers on, got them cleaned up, threw them on, and then I ran up to O'Reilly's and grabbed a set of gaskets. So I'll have a spare set coming, but I was so close, I just didn't feel like waiting until Thursday to fire this thing. So let's see what happens. I can't run it for a long time, but fingers crossed everything's good. I didn't hear any clicking or popping or banging or grinding when I was turning it over for oil pressure, so let's see what happens. Woo! I don't have a tune in this thing, so It may or may not start. I probably have to give it a little gas just to keep it running. I got 60 pounds of oil pressure. Little smoke from the oil and stuff on the header, but it's fine. Yes! Alright, let's check it out. So I don't have a tune in this thing yet. You do have to give it a little bit of gas to start it. But once it's there, it's there. It's a little warm because I was just running it. I don't have a rad on it or coolant in it yet, but I'll start it anyway real quick. Gotta give it gas. No noises, no leaks. Perfect. And a great sounding cam. All right, got to get the rad on, get some coolant in it. Then we'll be able to let it run a bit longer. And on Tuesday, I'll do the converter. I'm pretty stoked. Sounds great.